I love this rock. This is what I affectionately call sitting on the rock. I don't know if it's granite or marble, but it's a beautiful blue, green, almost a turquoise color. It's got some striations. I would love to polish this. If there's anybody out there that wants to polish a beautiful marble, man, this would be gorgeous that way. I've got a ton of them on this property. Anyway, I wanted to kind of share a story of where we're all at. I'm in bankruptcy. I'm Jeff Cole. I'm 63 years old. I just filed for retirement. I've got a piece of property in the city limits of Sequim that I love to tell the story about. And I'll apologize to you right now. Some people think this comes across boastful, and I hope you don't hear that in my voice, because man, God uses messy people, and I'm among the messiest. A lot of fingers could be pointed at me. I'm in my second marriage. I married a wonderful Russian woman who loves the Lord. I've got 4 new stepkids that I absolutely know with all my heart that they know their stepdad loves them. I have my daughter with me here that just came back from a long time in San Diego, and God's been doing some cool things, but it's funny that I'm on the rock. Jesus is the rock. The water that's tied to this property is a huge part of this story, and people have to keep hearing it because it's so involved and so deep that unless you really get a grand picture of it, you can't comprehend the scale of it. This property, my Aunt Marcel married into the Spath family, and my Uncle Myron's dad was one of the guys that brought the Dungeness River to this property. And it's got a long history. Now Highland Irrigation is the irrigation district around here, and we're in the Wyra. There's a lot of rules that have been created around the 1917 water certificate rule, which restricted the number of users. But anyway, all that to be said, we have 35 acres remaining as farm in 5 parcels. And on that, there's probably, I don't know, under 2 million worth of debt. The value of that, there was a comp recently that had sold 4 years ago down the road within 2 miles, very similar in size, 5 parcels, 35 acres, almost identical within a mile and a half. It can't be a better comp, and it had sold for 25 million. So we know the value of the land, whatever you say that number is today, it's significant. Well, that property didn't have water rights. Our property has pre-certificate state court, Superior Court verified water rights. In fact, there's 2 of them, which is really wild. They took the land. This property used to be 120 acres. They divided it, or took 60 of it basically, and they tried to take the water right, but what they did is they established through State Superior Court that there was a pre-certificate, pre-1900 water right, which is and they separated it from the property by order. They kept the land and they gave me the water right tied back to my personal property, or the estate. And I'm in direct heir. My father was Marcel's brother, and I bought it from the estate, so I'm the owner and the heir. And I only say that because there's the chain of title, and it's so intricate that well, I'll go back to the story. In 1998, my aunt and uncle, she was 77. She had been the home ec teacher here for 35 years. Loved the Lord, loved Sequim. She used to walk from here to the John Wayne Marina just to pick up garbage and see the view. And there's very little garbage, by the way, but she just loved this place. She would water plants that she saw needed plants. She took care of the calves. She ran this farm. She was so much of a harder worker than my Uncle Myron. And anyway, that's a whole story. He died of a heart attack after changing all the ownership to a sole survivor. So it would evade probate, and basically he died first and everything transferred to my side of the family. But that's how the Lord allowed me to get this property. And it is a testimony. I swear I've got 2 or 3 books on my heart. Raised in the Ark. You know, we've got a barn. It's somewhere between 10,000 and 11,000 square feet. And, you know, I can fit 1,000 people in there. And we can seat people for dinner, probably 500. I could park 1,000 cars on this property. That being said, it's a unique piece. It's private. It's in the center of the city. You'd never know it was in the city. We're adjacent to the Discovery Trail, the Carrie Blake Park. You can walk. The boat ramp is within a mile, and the marina, John Wayne Marina, is just a couple miles. The casino's not much farther beyond that. So as far as location goes, you can't get a better location. And even the wind, if you were to type something about Sequim, we're the warmest, driest climate west of the Cascades. Yes, and it's known. I've met people in Israel that have heard of Sequim. It's very unique. It's kind of a retirement community. I think that are considered type. The average age for women was like 62, and I think it was like 57 or something for men, or 54, somewhere in there. Anyway, Sequim is desirable, and if you see a negative, the only negative that I've ever seen is they say in some places it's too windy, and it is. If you're on the bluff, or down by like Maine's Farm, or it gets windy, and it's probably 7 to 10 degrees cooler the way it feels than it here on the farm. We're kind of tucked in this bowl, and the wind blows from the west to the east, and we have a dairy on the east side of us that we hardly ever smell, just because the consistent wind pattern. So my first family, we purchased the property, had came here and spent 10, 11 years here on the farm, and it was a lot for my first wife. She wanted to go back to San Diego, and I don't blame her for the lifestyle that we left to farm life, but you know, I kind of thought I was calling a bluff. I wanted her to stay here, and that didn't happen. We got divorced, and that took me for a loop, and so I wanted to get married quickly. I wanted the companion, so I just prayed, Lord, let me find someone. I met Veronica, and we got married fairly quickly, and my family doubled in size, which is quite interesting because that's part of the story. But I had 4 kids, now I have 4 more, and they're all similar in age, and we just started seeing God's hand on this property. Well, I developed 20 acres. The first 10 acres that I developed was Phase B of Willow Creek Manor, and we sold it out. Beautiful homes. I believe it is the highest priced master plan community in the city limits of Sequim. I mean, there's no better location. You can walk across the street to the Carrie Blake Park, and they have concerts in the park and stuff like that. It's the best location. Phase C cost me 3 times as much. I've only got 23 lots, but to prime that pump, I built some houses. I built 3 houses, or started building 3 houses. I've got 1 completed and 2 on the way. And you know, the last time, as soon as houses were up, the thing sold out. Well, this year, or this season, the buyers hadn't been there. So at 12% interest or more, costs start adding up. So I have Willow Creek Manor is a corporation that I'm a main principal of, and it probably has 5, or more than that, probably has 6 worth of debt right now, 6 million. And that hard money lender, he tried to file for bankruptcy, or excuse me, for foreclosure on October 31st, Halloween of all days. And I was able to file Chapter 11, which has now been converted to a 7. And there should be equity in there. My last 3 lots in Phase B, I sold for $250, $265, and $288 for roughly quarter-acre lots. And those were the last 3 sales. Now there's been a couple more sales that have gone through, like in 179 and some of the other phases. But I have phase C is the last phase. It is the phase B and C are not like phase A. They have 3 inches of asphalt instead of 2. They've got sidewalks on both sides of the street instead of 1. They've got street lights. I mean, it's a different, and the city owns the streets and the parking strips, so they don't dink with their irrigation like phase A has to. There's a lot of benefits, and if you want a view of the farm or be adjacent to our farm, there's only a handful of lots that are adjacent to the farm where you have the view of the farm, which I'm trying to retain. So here's the crust of the story, or the crux of the story. So whatever the farm value is, it has a water right that by all measure is worth more than the farm. It's so unprecedented that it's got a direct fed line from the Dungeness head gate. Well, the canal, the main Highland Canal goes from the Dungeness River to our line. So our line picks up from the Highland Head Canal and it comes to here. It's a 6-inch line at 185 psi. I can run hydropower with that. I could power this whole farm, whatever we wanted to do. I could get off the PUD grid. Talk about a monopoly. I would love to see PUD go get some competition. Anyway, so besides the 6-inch line at 185, we've got 5 wells. 4 of them are pre-1900. One of them's permitted that we have on our lot 5. And then we've got, I think it's around 3,000 linear feet of open irrigation trench that flows year long. It makes no difference if Highland shuts off their water or not. They don't affect the flow of that stream behind our house. And we'd always maintain that. They used to flood irrigate this farm. And if you look at it, it's the whole perimeter and right down the middle has got these deep canals. They're an on-site drainage ditch, is what it is. And it should be owned solely by us. It should be Willow Creek, call it Willow Creek. You know, we've got Willow Creek Manor and there's no Willow Creek. But that should be a sole source of ownership to the Cole family farm. We had, in 1998, when the state took the property, they divided the back acreage that they took. And the reason why they tried to take the water right originally, because they were putting the sewer treatment plant where they're going to pump their gray water on the other side of it in Carey Lake Park and use it as a filter. So they knew they would be polluting it. In fact, today, Ecology, their latest reports on that property show highly elevated E. coli readings. In fact, they won't even release them to me. Now they're saying they're only due quarterly. Man, if someone would want to represent me in this, I'm so far over my head, and I've already got Chapter 7. I can't even find an attorney to represent me personally in the Chapter 7 because I pulled the strictest judge, and I have no money. You know, I don't have 2 quarters to scrape together right now. But that's kind of a cool thing because you're about to see God move in a way. You know, I've been saying for almost 10 years, Lord, you didn't have to do it that way. You're only showing off. He seems to create a way out of no way, and you look back and you're like, man, I couldn't have done it that way if I had thought it out my way. And people are kind of blown away about this place. Not only is it the center of the Blue Hole, and if you don't know what that is, the Olympic mountain range creates like an eye of a storm in Sequim where we just get this circulating clear hole. Pilots used to fly to the Blue Hole and turn right to go to Seattle. It's a unique place. And even our adjacent city, Port Angeles, it's still on the books as the second second White House, or second place of the White House in time of war, I believe.